What's going on, everybody? It is Chris Aiken from Aftershocks, and just wanted to remind you before we give you this next great interview that you should be subscribed to the CMS Podcast Network, cmspn.com. That is the web address. You can watch, you can listen, you can subscribe. Everything you need to do to catch not only this episode, but everything that we've done in the past. It's all over there on the CMS Podcast Network, as well as great shows from the Classic Metal Show, Shockwave Skull Sessions, Talk to Me, and of course, Aftershocks TV. So sign up today and you will never be without entertainment again. All right, enough of this. Let me give you the interview you came here to see. It is Aftershocks right here on AftershocksTV.com, and joining us today to talk about his solo release, Controlled Chaos. It is the manager of all Controlled Chaos in Sevendust, and now solo, it is the drummer, Mr. Morgan Rose. Morgan, how are you, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great, buddy. How are you?
I'm good, man. Well, I gotta say, Morgan, it is you are an odd one to figure out, and I'll tell you why. A year ago this time, I hear that you're sick and you're dying or you're close to death.
Yeah.
And then we get the pandemic where you might have had a good time to take a break and, recover and heal and everything. And instead you do a Sevendust record and a solo record. So you're opposite the norm, man.
It was, actually, the funny thing is the Sevendust record was done like 2 months before I got sick.
Okay.
And that was done in October last year. And so it was wild because the doctors actually told me that I probably started getting sick about 2 months before I went into the hospital.
Okay.
And then I looked back at that timeline and I remembered feeling off a few times while I was doing the record. So it definitely made sense. I could almost pinpoint it to the day where I was like, man, something's wrong. But yeah, the Sevendust record was done. The biggest obstacle we had to do was try to figure out when are we going to release it, because it was originally supposed to be out in like maybe August and give Clint a chance to tour his solo record.
Right.
When everything went, into catastrophic land over here, it was like, we can't keep this record for 2 years. I mean, I was telling somebody earlier, I was like, they're like your babies, and you usually like to kind of hold on to them, for 6 months, maybe, and then it's time. I like to treat it almost like every month is 3 years, so after 6 months, they're 18 years old, time to get a job, get out of the house, and let mom and dad, get freaky again, and then after a while, you get that, baby fever again, and you go and you do another record. And
Right.
So me personally, I was like, I'm already getting to where I don't like the record. I'm getting to where I'm tired of it, because we've been sitting on it for a year.
Right.
But it had to get out there. I'm glad that it went out there. I think it'll suffer, obviously, because we can't support it, but our people showed up and, we had the top charting record of our career. So,
Awesome.
it did something great.
Absolutely. And it's a great record, man. We're definitely going to talk Controlled Chaos, but there's no denying Blood and Stone is, a lot of people are saying it's the best thing you've done since Animosity, man. And I think that's big praise.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, it was a fun record to do. We were in a good place internally. Everybody was doing really well, so we got along great. It was a pretty easy record. I mean, some of them have been harder than others, and this one was one of the easier ones. It was just smooth sailing in there.
No doubt, man. Well, Morgan, let's talk Controlled Chaos, man. Obviously it is quite the different record from Sevendust. And, the funny thing, at least to me, and I'm sure to you too, is the amount of criticism that it's gotten because it's not Sevendust. It's like, well, what did you think? This is music that you would do that doesn't fit Sevendust, at least
Right.
in my mind. Isn't that the point of doing a solo record?
I mean, I haven't really looked at much of what goes on. I mean, I know that people were probably expecting me to scream all over it, and I'm like, I already scream all over that other shit. You know, like that's not what I listen to all day long. You know, I listen to Nine Inch Nails, I listen to Depeche Mode, I listen to the Eagles. You know, I don't really listen to a whole ton of heavy music to begin with. And I love heavy music, you know, but I also, you know, I'm part of a heavier rock band, you know, so I pick and choose when I'm in that mood to go into that world. I said it to somebody, like I said it earlier. I also said, I was like, you know, I really don't give a fuck. You know,
Right.
and I didn't do the record for any other I definitely did not do the record to try to become Dave Grohl or to become, you know, a solo artist or leave my band and take on this new career. You know, that was never, not even remotely close. This was me, you know, being able to, um, more than anything, it was a vulnerable record for me. The lyrics are really about me. It's a sort of diary, and kind of, you know, brings me back to this come to Jesus moment that I had with myself, you know, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when I was, you know, self-destructing and falling apart, and you know, thinking about doing some things to myself that aren't really, you know, they're not good. So um, to write lyrics about things like that and to call myself out like that, you know, we all write in Sevendust. And if I was going to write those lyrics and I was going to say, here you go, Lejean, you know, talk about doing something catastrophic to yourself that would destroy your entire family and everyone that cares about you. And then realizing, oops, I made a mistake. I don't want to do that. And it's too late. You know, sing about that for me real quick. You know,
Right.
like that's not fair. You know, that's not what Lejean is about. So I was able to write about things that were about me, you know, and so really it just, you know, I enjoyed it. I think that, yeah, of course. I mean, Seven Dust is a pretty diverse band to begin with. I mean, Angel Sun is not Splinter, you know, you know, what's, you know, name a handful of other ones. I mean, even Animosity, you know, Live Again is a basic power ballad, you know, there's no screaming going on in there, you know. I
Yeah.
don't really know. I think maybe the people thought that I'm super aggressive in Seven Dust. Maybe I'm the heaviest one in the band, you know, that when I'm in that atmosphere, I want to absolutely bite things, you know, and I want to hurt things. But away from that, being able to kind of use the other side of my head, you know, I wanted to do something different that fit lyrically what I wanted to talk about.
Sure. And you know, you really did it throughout this record. The track that stands out to me is the one that I've seen you in several interviews say is your favorite is Exhale, which is, you know, it's interesting you brought up Nine Inch Nails because my first reaction to it was, wow, that could have fit on the Fragile. It's got that
Yeah.
an atmospheric type of a feel, but yet the lyrics are very, very, you know, emotional and deep. And it's you know, and surprisingly, or maybe not so surprisingly, there's no drums on it, which makes it
Yeah.
everything you would think about you traditionally. It's not, which I think makes it a perfect song for this release.
I mean, that was the song that it was really the last thing I piece of music. I want to do a piano thing.
Mm-hmm.
I want it to be dark. I want it to be, I knew what I wanted to write about, which was the first time really on the record that I had an idea of what I wanted to write about. I knew I was going to write things about myself, but I had no like idea that that was going to be the topic, you know, which was the heaviest lyrically on the record. But I knew that I needed something musically that was going to put me in that frame of mind. And he sent me the that piece of music of sorts where it was like all the parts were there, but the changes were in different areas. And I had been working with someone else, and working with them that they were going to do some extra production and help out with the record. Um, Andrew from Arcane Roots.
Okay.
And I contacted him and I said, listen, this is the piece of music. I'm having a hard time finding where I want to turn this melody around. Like the arrangement of this is a little confusing for me. Can you simplify this for me a little bit so that I can, start digging in on it? So he rearranged it basically, and when he did, it hit me right away. Like I knew it right away, and the words came super easy. It's really not that the storyline in my head, about what I had gone through and what I had, the unfortunate mindset that I was in, and being lucky enough to be able to talk about it. I had to jump on it. I wanted to do it. So I didn't even do a second verse for it. It took too long for me to get through the storyline up to the first chorus, that when we finally got through that, I was just sitting there, and I remember calling Clinton. I was like, I don't think I'm going to do a second verse, man. I don't think there needs to be anything there. I mean, I've told the story in a long verse and a chorus. I've told the story,
Right.
and so we kind of went. He was like, I don't know, man. I really want one, but it's kind of cool that I'm starving for another one, not getting it. So that was really where that ended. And Andrew was the same way. He goes, I don't know what to tell you. Like, this is so brilliant in the sense that I do feel it gives me what I need. So that was my favorite song on the record, because it was like me confessing of what
Sure,
I've
sure.
gone through.
Are you comfortable, not so much with fans, because fans are going to be fans, but are you comfortable laying your own soul out there for like friends to be able to close friends, because obviously close friends know what you've gone through, and now here it is in song where they might pick up pieces that they didn't know. Is that comfortable for you, that that's out there for everybody to see?
Yeah, I mean, I've been pretty open, about my struggles over the years. I mean, the person that probably, I wouldn't say she has a problem with it, because we're both very much into mental health and awareness. And but my girlfriend, she's like, you don't have to tell everybody everything. And I'm like, I just really can't help it. Like, there's a good feeling about getting that stuff off, and I'm not ashamed of any of that. I've obviously made horrible decisions in my life, that I wish that I wouldn't have made, but she likes to say they've all brought you to where you're at right now. She's the wisest person that I know. I mean, she's the one that's really, I mean, I thought I had it all figured out after a few years of, therapy and digging in on myself and walking into a room like I was Gandhi or something, and then the world shut down, and I'm like, you took away my diversion. You took away my ability to provide something for people and to bring some happiness to a group of people in the world. And now I'm left with, what can I do? And so I didn't realize how much I'm a people pleaser. That's what my therapist likes to say, and that's what, I've been labeled that before. Um, so with the inability to please, people by providing music and a concert and things like that, um, it was tough. It left me to have to please myself, and I was like, whoa, I don't think I have it all figured out. And then the insecurities pop in, and then the, you know, self-loathing and the feelings of, I'm not good enough, and it really gets pretty rough. And then I dug back into therapy again, and I do that consistently to try to, I mean, the cool thing about it is that without any help, uh meaning diversions, um I've found a way to stay semi-stabilized during this time.
Sure.
uh so when those things do pop up, I just have to remember that the mind needs maintenance consistently, so that just because I'm out there playing some concerts and the people are smiling and I'm like, yep, okay, I fulfilled this, I made it a good time for you, I feel fulfilled, that it will end someday. There'll be a day that I'm not able to go out there and perform. There'll be a day that maybe people are like, you're fired, we don't want you to perform. But whenever that comes, I want to be prepared to be able to be okay with myself.
Sure. I chatted with Chris Robertson of Blackstone Cherry a couple months ago, and he's fought depression a lot himself. And he made a great point that I'll bet you probably agree with, in that there is no toughness in hiding insecurity. There's no toughness to that. The toughness is actually battling it so that you don't, fall into the traps.
Yeah, I mean, musicians have it bad. I mean, we've been, if you're lucky enough to have been in it this long, you either take one path, which is, you know, uh, figuring it out early and being able to keep yourself in check. I'm not a rock star. My band is not filled with that kind of mentality. We never tolerated it early on.
Right.
Uh, and I believe that the day of the rock star is dead to begin with. Social media has destroyed the mystique to begin with. So we don't have any time for any of that. So it's not a matter of the attention to feed the ego. It really is this feeling of insecurity because it's ugly. When you see what goes on out there and you see it on a consistent basis for a long time, you're like, I mean, I've told the story a few times, and it's no one in particular because it wasn't anyone that is involved in our organization anymore. But when you're dealing with, a crew guy that's sitting on the bus and he invites a girl on the bus so that, she can get an autograph for her husband, and she's in the back lounge and he's back there having sexual relations. And then the girl walks off the bus and jumps into her husband's arms and hands him the CD, and they walk off happily ever after. And I'm like, that didn't happen once in our career. That happened way more than once. So you're sitting there going, that guy trusts his girl, and this just happened right here in front of me, and I'm just like, I'm not judging anybody. I'm just saying that it just hit me really hard when I was younger. That kind of thing hit me. And the fact that, I always treated myself. I mean, I was never, somebody that was hooking up with a bunch of girls when I was growing up anyway. So all of a sudden, you get in the band and it's like, oh, a bunch of girls like you. And then you realize, wait a minute, no girls liked me before.
Right.
What's the difference? Oh, I'm up on the stage, so then
Right.
it's like, do you like me for me or do you like me for that guy? Because that guy is like different,
Mm-hmm.
you know and so then the insecurities are just there. You don't know who's liking you for what. You don't know who wants to be friends with you for what. You don't know who wants to date you for what. you know it's that's why we have some insecurity issues in the music world.
Sure. Definitely, man. Well, let's pull off of this topic since this is really
What
down.
else can we talk about?
Well,
Let's talk about COVID. No, I'm just
no,
kidding.
let's not do that.
It's not-
Well, let's talk a little bit about just you reach coming out and being the lead singer. In Sevendust, you're obviously kind of you're the Michael Anthony to Lejean's David Lee Roth, more or less. I mean, you do have a very distinct part of Sevendust. Your voice, your screams are very distinctive, and it is a distinctive part of Sevendust. I have to imagine now coming out as the singer, even if it's just in the studio, it gives you a new appreciation of everything Lejean goes through and everything every singer goes through.
100%. Yeah, I said that, and I was like, I mean, I went in there, sang the first song, no big deal, you know. Then got the record deal, and a week and a half, 2 weeks later, I'm in there, went in to do the second song, and I was like, the pressure was a little different. The first one was, I'm just doing a song and I'm going to throw that shit on,
Website.
on my website and just throw it up there and sell a few thousand of them and, buy something for my kids or something. It was no big deal. It's not about making money ever. I mean, there's no delusions of grandeur over here. I mean, it was not about money. I just was like, I'm not, at the beginning, I was like, I have no interest in touring this, or I'm not going to put my foot up on a monitor up there and become a singer.
Right.
So there was no thought of that. I didn't think that Rise would be interested in it. and then they heard it and they did it. So the pressure built after the first song. So then it was like, okay, now I have to really focus on this. So I go in to do the second song, and it was like a little bit more challenging for me vocally. So plus the first one didn't have any screaming in it or anything. So I think the second one I did might have been The Answer or something like that. So it turned into this, there's more screaming and stuff and a lot more singing, to where it's like you don't just do it once, you've got to do it over and over and over to make sure that you've got what you need. And so it was weird. It was like I left there that night, and my girlfriend who engineered the record is like, your voice is a little hoarse. And I'm like, oh, I'm good. I'm good. We'll be good. And I wake up the next day and I'm like, I can't really talk very well, and I like tried to sing a few of the ideas that I had and they wouldn't come out.
Oh.
So I was like, I think I've lost my voice, and I don't know how bad I've blown it, but it's not working today. Now, the screaming stuff, if you lose your voice, it's no big deal. I mean, it's just the worse the voice is, the better.
Right.
The singing stuff is a lot different, and Exhale was going to be last. So it's like, I did know that that was going to be falsetto, and at the moment, I can't even talk. So I was real nervous about it. I called John. I didn't bother with Lejean because Lejean's just an enigma. The guy never loses his voice.
Right.
He's been singing for 400 years and still never loses it. Um, so I went to the guys that aren't real singers, or not singers consistently, like Clinton and John. And they both kind of said the same thing. They're like, you need to get off your phone for a minute. You need to relax and, do some of the basics of the tea and the warm ups and the honey and the blah, blah, and do that stuff. And when it comes back, it'll be stronger. Should be a few days. So it was really like a few days later, it came back, and then I was good to go for the rest of it. But yeah, I mean, it's a whole different deal. Lejean talking about, on the road saying, I'm like, how you doing, man? He goes, tired, man. The voice is tired. And I'm like looking at him like, look back what I'm doing, dude. Try to do what I'm doing. That shit's tiring. I never really had that much pity for him. And now I'm like, I got you. I
Right.
get it. Yeah, so he's got my utmost respect for doing what he does.
No question, man. Well, Morgan, a quick Sevendust thing. You guys obviously did this live stream recently, which was, blazing, which is not surprising from you guys, because you guys, if anything, you guys have always been a live band first, at least in my eyes, but I have to imagine for you as a performer, it had to be weird, just because, if I've been to, I don't know, 27 Dust shows or whatever at this point. And if I know anything, I know that you guys feed as much off the audience as the audience feeds off of what you're giving the audience. So I have to imagine that was very strange for you guys to be playing in a, not in front of a bunch of people.
It was terrible. It sucked. I mean, it really was. The only thing that saved it was we hadn't seen each other in a long time. So
Okay.
we were excited to see each other. We were excited to be able to play together again. But there was some anxiety, I mean, I hadn't played a real show, like playing hard, in, since probably about a year.
Okay.
So it was wild, it was wild to do that. And the people not being there, it felt like when we were first starting out, going on tour and having 3 or 4 people out there. We had a few crew guys and, a few lighting guys out there, and that was about it. And so I just tried to kind of go inside, imagine. I played a lot with my eyes closed on that, where it was just like, try to envision there being people there, because I mean, I don't really see the people that much when we're playing live anymore either, but the response and the sound of it that's the drug.
Right.
That feeling of, that's fulfillment. That's the sound of please. That's the sound of you just please somebody, So that's what I get out of it. So to not have that, is like, damn, and Lejean said a few things, like he was talking to the crowd through the TV, and that made me feel super weird.
Right.
So, but we're going to do another one, and we know what we're getting ourselves into now. So I'm sure that it'll be much better. We'll be prepared a little better as far as what to expect. Um, I'm not a huge fan of them, though. I know that people said that they liked it, and that's all that really counts. And I always enjoy playing with the guys. So I mean, it's a win-win. But as far as like you nailed it. It's fucking weird.
And it's such a it is what it is, which is okay. Well, we can't have what we want, so this is sort of close. And it's like, okay, well, we're accepting something that in most other times we probably would not accept. As fans, as a band.
Yeah, of course, definitely.
Well, the only advice I'll give is I watched another one with Armored Saints, and John Bush was trying to tell jokes, and that came off worse than anything, telling jokes to no crowd.
Yeah, I would expect that. I mean, that's a tough crowd. No crowd.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Morgan, obviously, man, the new record for Morgan Rose is called Controlled Chaos. And of course, Sevendust has Blood and Stone, which is both are really, really solid. You should check out both. Morgan, where should people go online to find out what you're doing and, to get the record and all that stuff?
Well, there is the Morgan 70 is pretty much all of the socials. That pretty much guides you most places. Alien Freakware is another one. And they started I think that the one for Controlled Chaos is Morgan FKN Rose.
Okay.
So where most of like the merchandise and all the new stuff happening with the record and everything goes through there.
Very cool, man. Well, Morgan, it's always great to talk to you, man. And thanks once again for checking in with Aftershocks.
Thanks for listening to Aftershocks. For more episodes, go to our website at www.aftershockspodcast.com. Visit us on our Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter pages for more news and information on the podcast. And be sure to subscribe, listen to, and review all episodes on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all other podcast platforms. For your music listening pleasure, visit our website or go to www.shockwavesradio.com. For all comments and questions, please email us at info@aftershockspodcast.com.
All right, everybody, another great interview right here on Aftershocks TV. And before we go, just want to remind you one more time, make sure you get over and subscribe to the CMS Podcast Network, CMSPN.com. You can watch, you can listen, you can subscribe to everything that we do. Not only us, but the classic metal shows, Shockwave Skull Sessions, Talk to Me. It's all there. One site. Get 4 great shows. Never have to do anything again but be entertained. So check it out. CMSPN.com, CMSPN.com, CMSPN.com. Until next time, folks.